we are going to talk about education planning and its purpose, the history of background, process and system of the education planning in the Philippines, the basic ideas of planning, and the core system approach of education planning. Now, let's start.
What is planning?
In order to understand what educational planning means, it is necessary to understand what is meant by planning and what planning is. According to Adesina, 1990, he defines planning as a way of protecting our intention. It is a method of deciding what we want to accomplish. According to Janet Shapiro, 2001, planning means thinking about the future so that you can do something about it now. This doesn't necessarily mean that everything will be according to plan. But if you have just planned properly, your ability to adjust without compromising your overall purpose will be much better.
To summarize planning, it refers to the act of deciding in advance what is to be done, how and when to do it, where and who is to do it. In order to achieve the objective of the system, planning involves the organizational goals and developing plans to integrate and coordinate work activities. It is a means of achieving higher level of effectiveness. Its uniqueness lies in the future organization or anticipation made. Because of complexities of modern technology in our societies, educational planning becomes an absolute requirement. It bridges the gap to where we are and where we want to be.
According to the DepEd, today's educational planning in the Philippines can claim an unbroken history even before the establishment of our formal educational system. During the pre-Spanish era and the period of modern centuries, when the Philippines was a possession of Spain and the United States, there was a long routine sort of educational planning, though it was not visible enough to compare with the present educational planning system.
At the minimum, they have to estimate how many students there would be, how many classrooms, teachers, desks, and books would be needed to serve adequately.
In this process was education planning, in which was taken for granted as normal part of school administrator's job. Much more in some instances, it was an abuse that led to a wasteful imbalances of much limited school inputs.
In 1993, Commonwealth Act No. 2 was passed, which created the National Education Council, or NEC. It was a central authority responsible for the formulation of the definite and consistent of national economic policies and the creation of comprehensive economic and social development plan. The law required approval by the President of both policies and programs of the Council before they could implement by the government's departments, offices, and agencies.
In 1962, PIA, or the Program Implementation Agency, was created. And in 1966, PIA was changed to PES, or the Presidential Economic Staff. PES is the one who plans, and the NEC is on the programming. The NEC was basically an advisory body with no executive functions.
On December 8, 1966, EO number 53 was created, the Manpower Development Council, under the Office of the President of the Philippines. With the proclamation of martial law in 1972, implementation of the Integrated Reorganization Plan was created. This body is primarily charged with the task of overseeing government development program. It is central agency for national development planning, coordination, and program implementation.
In 1954, the defunct Congress of the Philippines created the Board of National Education through RA 1124, which created a board with different functions.
In 1954, the defunct Congress of the Philippines created the Board of National Education through RA number 1124. Its broad functions were to formulate the objectives and basic policies of education in conformity with the Constitution, to coordinate the objectives, functions, and activities of different types of educational institution, and set general goals of accomplishments for the entire school system. The board, aside from being the highest policy-making body in education, it has been known as the first official planning body of education. Initially, its activities that were concentrated on the public school system were integrated with the National Development Plan.
We need to plan so that we may set the goal, the approaches we need so we can achieve the goals, the outlying activities, and we can prioritize them. We create a schedule that can bring us closer to the goal that we set with this. We can strive to focus on the goal and work effectively to achieve it. We need to determine the resources so that we can attain the goal with a given time. To have an adequate plan to help in administration, to put into action what they deem to achieve, and to have a clear choice of the aim and objectives to attain as to utilize and maximize the resources that is available.
What are the steps in effective planning process? Develop objectives. Develop tasks to meet those objectives. Determine resources and to implement tasks. Create a timeline. Determine tracking and assessment method. Finalize plan. Distribute to all involved in the process.
Primacy of planning. Planning is the first step in management. It takes precedence over all the other managerial functions. Planning is pervasive. By this we mean that planning cuts across all levels of management and all other managerial functions. Example, managerial function of organizing, staffing, etc. involves some planning.
Planning is action-oriented. It involves mapping or charting of activities in such a way that it helps to satisfy human wants. Planning is future-oriented. It is a process of deciding in accordance what should be done in the future, how it is done, who will do it, when and where to do it.
If you are unable to organize things to be done, how will it happen and who will do it? Setting priorities and being able to use the limited resources effectively by involving through open communication channel the people who are involved, and by adapting process and modifying steps to attain the goals and to record the planning decisions for future use.
It will stimulate change and improve in your administration by figuring out why it happened and how should it happen. It also raises awareness about what is being done, and by the build activities done, we can determine what are the activities works best. The best result happens by choosing the activities that has the best recipe of all. By this, we can decrease the fear about the process of change and its result.
It has to do with change, recognizing it, manipulating it, and making things happen. Anticipating the change will likely affect the whole organization. So we need to do a sharp and right choice when planning. Planning is not just avoid risk, but rather take the right risk to move the organization from one level to another. It affects the future decision. So deciding and planning efficiently and effectively will lead to the kind of future desired tomorrow.
It is an administrative operation which is usually adopted what particular objective, like implementing a reform, measure building, and institution of piloting legislation. It provides tools and technique for alternative choices for examining options through definition criteria. Use evaluation tool technique and the iterative process of comparing organizational capabilities and resources against desired objective. It arms the manager with tools, frame of mind, emotional confidence to make good decisions for the manager, able to solve problems and choose the right effective and efficient plan that is suited for this organization.
There are 4 types of planning according to time horizon. First, single-purpose planning. It is an administrative operation which is usually adopted with one particular objective, like implementing, like a reform, measure building, and institution of piloting legislation. Second, short-term planning. It is an adopted alternative to medium planning on an emergency basis. Third, medium-term plan. It is 4 to 5 preparation against the backdrop of long-term perspective plan. Operationally, it is approved that this kind of plan is more efficient, in great clarity, and it has definite basis for action. The fourth, long-term planning. It is 10 to 20 years plan means that the result of the short-term education may be measured or the result may only be visible after several decades.
There are 4 systems of educational planning or the Franco-educational planning approach. First, system planning thinking. School as a complete organism. This includes the following: school philosophy or ideology, target student, problem course of study, competence, geographic coverage, and gender. Second, system planning or conversational process. Use of educational process to optimize the most of the input and result. It includes student, teacher, funds, physical resources, and library.
The third approach is system thinking according to technique. These include the following: research, community, counseling, and governance. Last approach is system thinking according to result. Use process that ensures output or results. This includes the following: graduate, research output, community service, and social critique.
This is our report regarding educational planning. Thank you and God bless. Please like and click the subscribe button. Merry Christmas!